ISTV NPFL podcast show, but this time in a different manner. As you can see, we are on the street of Ibadan, and this is a
central place actually.
Definitely, this is challenge for in case you wonder where we are, and of course we'll be having some of these street vibes in conjunction with the studio. We just don't want to bore you with the studio reaction alone, so definitely we'll bring you the review rather of match day 2 live on the street of Ibadan. Of course, I'm not the only man here. You're definitely going to see Femite is here. I will take you around games that went down yesterday in the NPFL, talking about match day 2 encounters across the nation. It was an avalanche of draws yesterday. Just one win, and that was Katsina United at home. On Saturday there are 2 wins, but then we had so much draws. But in itself, one of the games that went a stalemate was also PSC against Plateau United. Of course, Femite is here. Good morning, Femite.
Good morning to you, Raymond. Good morning to our viewer, our listeners, our fans. Great to be here once again. Another amazing week after a very interesting weekend. One thing I'm going to say, I start the show by saying is never doubt yourself. You know, I mean, last weekend I did 2 predictions that will have been 100%. I said Kano Pillars Bayelsa 1-1, and at the end of all the predictions, it looked like there was not going to be any away win. It was what was correct, but I thought myself, how can there be no away win? I think I enjoyed the 3 away wins in the match they won. I felt like there has to be an away win, so I changed it. But eventually, the Kano Pillars win in Bayelsa did not happen. Bayelsa equalized, later in that game. And at the end of the day, no away win yet. Yes. Because there are still 2 more games. 2 more games, or 3 more, depending on what happens later. But as of this moment, 7 games played, no away win on match day 2. It's a pleasure to be back here this morning.
How do you feel seeing play a lot of draws as well? I mean, we had 3 wins, then we had 4 draws.
Well, I think I'm actually okay with it. I think it shows the spirit of competition. I think it shows that teams are beginning to wake up to the reality of starting quick, starting early. I mean, you could see it as 3 home draws, or you could also see it at 3 away points. Yeah. So I think teams are beginning to wake up. The likes of Kano Pillars going away, to pick a point. Nasarawa United, going away to Niger Tornadoes, even when they were opening a new stadium to pick a point. Kano, what's his name? Abia Warriors almost getting a win. In Uyo. But eventually, it was a draw, and of course, Plateau United also a draw. So it shows that people are beginning to. I mean, one thing that I was happy about was that they were not, goalless draws. Yes. There was only 1 goalless draw. So for me, it shows a lot of competition. It shows that nobody they grieve for anybody.
Nobody they grieve for anybody. Like the whole package, no grief for anybody. I mean, and of course, but then let's just start. We've got a plethora of things to talk about. Definitely. Should we start from Ibadan since we are based in Ibadan?
Absolutely. Yeah. We are in one central place in Ibadan.
So yesterday it happened. You are looking to see 3 years beating Plateau United goes to 1, but it happened. Plateau United drew the first blood yesterday, and the first half, the 2 goals were scored in the first half actually, and after that, it was all no more goals produced. But 1-1 draw between Shooting Stars and Plateau United. The fans were a bit disappointed so that yesterday, but then. Do you think this calls for any kind of pressure pressure within the coaching crew of Shooting Stars? First home game, first draw, 2 games out of 2 games, 2 draws out of a possible 6.
Well, actually, I think it depends on how you're looking at it. On the surface level, I think it may call for pressure, especially from fans, because fans want all they want is a win, especially if the fans get to turn out massively. Yeah. Like we saw at the Lagos Salami Stadium yesterday, it was a massive crowd, that came out to support Shooting Stars yesterday. All the fans want is a win. However, when you look at it, when you look at the breakdown, you tell yourself maybe it's understandable. I mean, first and foremost, at the beginning of the season, we saw Shooting Stars, retain 13 players, sign 17. But when I look at the starting 11 of Shooting Stars yesterday, I realized that there were 7
new players.
Is it 7 or 9? I think 7 or 9 new players.
Apart from Muritala,
apart from
Tagawa,
exactly, apart from Daddy
Abdulrahman was part of the team yesterday. last season, and then this man at the center of defense as well, making for I think like 6 new players.
Exactly.
Played yesterday.
So,
there are 5 of former players on
exactly.
the pitch.
So it feels like they, you know, it's almost a new team entirely. You know, a new goalkeeper in goal, and of course the defenders have to get used to, you know, the defense line basically. I mean, there's another new left back, so it feels like a mixed defense line. So everyone is still trying to get used to each other. I can excuse them. I can excuse the draw. However, I also will not excuse it in the sense that it wasn't like they recovered early. So it wasn't like, okay, Plateau United got a goal in the 70th minute and you had to equalize in the 89th minute, you know. Plateau United got an early goal, quite alright.
39 minutes.
39, but then also before halftime,
they equalized.
So I believe that going into the halftime going into the dressing room at halftime, I expect that they came out second half, all guns blazing, looking to win the game. So I think that got me disappointed a little bit about Shooting Stars, that they actually got back into the game before halftime, and the second half they were not able to get the telling touch. They were at least ensured the victory for them. So a little bit disappointing, but I can understand that it looks like we can't really say there is a continuity per se.
Yeah,
you know, from last season.
It's a new beginning entirely.
It's like it's a new beginning entirely. We are beginning to build another team, and it might give they might need time to eventually get their rhythm again. I saw Anthony Okachi again up front struggle a little bit, you know, trying to get in between the defenders and all that. And also Ben Dogbota yesterday also spoke that much that look, the players were a little bit nervous, you know, in front of the crowd. First home game of the season, there were a couple of new players. So even though I can excuse it, I feel like I can also not excuse it, because whatever it is, you equalize before halftime.
You should have
that second 45 minutes.
You should have bought in a goal.
If you are not conceding, you should have tried to get the winning goal.
And let's look at the penalty shout. Late one from Shooting Stars, deep into injury time. The defender was falling, and of course trying to block the shot. So it counts for 2 things. The law of handball, natural position. If you put and should the referee, because the shout actually have been a penalty for you, looking at it very well, was if you are the center referee, would you have taken that as a penalty?
I think that this is one of the calls that you will say is absolute 50-50 call. Actually, when you look at it, I mean, there are always these talks about what is the defender's natural position. Exactly. And if you look at it, the defender was already on the floor.
Yeah.
Now, when you are sliding, where is your hand supposed to be?
It will be by your side.
By your side. His hand was not above his head.
Yes.
It was not spread wide,
yes,
trying to make himself bigger. I think if you are sliding into a tackle, you can't slide into a tackle trying to fall straight on your back. You have to break the fall with your hand.
With your hand.
So I think, considering the fact that he was sliding in, trying to tackle and trying to, you know, break his fall with his hand on the floor, it was a natural position. It was not, you know, the law of handball now says that either it's deliberate or it's in an unnatural position where you are trying to make yourself bigger to present something. Either your hand is above your head or it's wide outside your body. But when your hand is almost behind your back, trying to help yourself not, you know, fall too much to the ground, I think it was a natural position. I wouldn't give a penalty for that.
Okay, for if you're hearing, definitely.
So right call by the referee.
Right call, definitely. But then maybe another rule says, you know, when you're trying to hit the ball at pole and it's going towards goal, denying
goal scoring
chance,
clear goal scoring opportunity,
it could also count as a penalty.
And that's why I said
maybe that comes as a shout there.
And that's why I said it's actually 50-50. It's open to referee's interpretation actually, because if you come from the view of denying a goal scoring opportunity, because he took a shot that could have been shot on goal
inside the box,
that would have been shot on goal, and maybe the keeper would have gone and it would have entered and be a winning goal. You would say, but at the end of the day, it's a 50-50 call. You can look at it that way, but you can also look at it from the defender's point of view. He was sliding on the floor.
And there's no way
unless you cut your hand off. There is no other place his hands could have been than where it was.
So kudos to the referee there. I think that was on point. If you had blown for a penalty, it would have been good. Since I not to take a penalty, There's no.
I think it was a good call.
Good call. So definitely, we still keep moving on. And of course, if there's a game that you thought could have been a victory, but didn't give you that 3 points, which match out of all games do you think is the most shocking for you?
That 3 points did not come from.
Yes.
Well, I think it has to be Niger Tornadoes
Nassau United
against Nassau United.
Battle.
I mean, I thought that game had everything. You know, there has been a little bit of disappointment this weekend in the sense that some teams that had stellar performances last weekend, except for one, which is my title favorite.
Lemon Stars.
So some teams that had a stellar performance last weekend were not able to follow through this weekend. Example is Niger Tornadoes went away to Ilorin 1-1, came back home.
I mean, returning back to their main house.
Another is Shooting Stars that were analyzed. Another is Kano Pillars. I mean, won emphatically at home, went away, scored first.
And when you thought they could,
and somehow, you know, they didn't get, you know, the deserving. So for me, but it has to be Niger Tornadoes. I felt like that game had all the makings to be a straight win for Niger Tornadoes. I felt like the fact that they went to Ilorin, a very tough place, to get a draw, to get a win, away to Kwara United, and the fact that, you know, it's a ceremonial mood. They were opening a new Republic Stadium. They were playing in Mina.
And you would have thought it could have been an euphoria of
exactly. Victory for them. They were playing in Mina for the first time, I think, in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So I felt like that game was going to be a celebratory game, an interesting game, and a game that would
return home with a victory.
Exactly. That will mark, you know, their return back to the Bakoko Rangura Stadium in Mina. And the fact that they didn't have to travel to Kaduna, you know, they could actually stay in Mina, conserve the energy. I felt like all that gave a making of a win for Niger Tornadoes, but it was not to be. I have to say kudos to Nassau United. You know, if you are not going to score away from home, then keep it tight at the back and get your 1 point.
Okay, so just a round of all the results quickly. On Saturday, Lemon Stars, Rivers United, Femali predicted correctly.
That was correct.
I mean, cha-cha. 3-1 win for Atlant, for Rivers over Atlant. For the battle of two Super Eagles legends. But Felini George, who knows the league very well, decided to teach Abonike, who is just coming to the league, some lessons there.
Not coming
proper. And for Lemon Stars, the battle Southwestern Derby, both in Ogun State, Ijebu and Ikele, just like a Ikule, like I should say. But then they won't go to nothing.
I have to say that I was close. Don't worry. Next weekend, I will be more. I said it was going to be a one goal.
Yeah, of course.
I said 2-1. It eventually ended 1-0.
But technically, it was right.
Yeah.
And of course, we had. I think you said Aqua United was going to end 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I did.
And that one also ended.
So
Agbawo and see. When he releases this prediction, go and carry your something. Edit and slide it. Oh God, and they tell you, but don't about shifo, you know. Look on Dragamo. But also 1-1 against Kano Pillars. Katsina United 2-1 win over Benel Insurance. Then Niger Tornadoes goalless against
by the way, I think I also said that Katsina United will win. I'm not sure if I said 2-1. I think maybe I said 1-0.
Either 1-0 or 2-1, one of the two.
I think I was saying 1-0 or 2-1, then eventually I settled for.
But technically, it was 1 goal difference between.
1 goal margin again. Katsina United. I mean, Monday, biggest Benel Insurance. You know what we said at the beginning of the season.
You were already tipped there for relegation.
They are
at 1 point from
possible 6 from possible 2 games.
Yes.
I'm not surprised. Now I think they are going back to the
they go back to Benin match
and they are taking on Shooting
Stars.
So, but we'll preview when we come to preview.
What in Dogu ball? If you lose, you lose.
This season is starting with violence.
I'm telling you.
But when we get there, we eventually, you know, talk about when we get to previewing.
Yeah.
You know, this weekend, we'll definitely talk about it. But I mean, it's a game that, you know, back at the Samuel Gomudia Stadium, they've got to win. Shooting Stars also yet to win a game this season. Both teams have not. But then let's leave that.
Shooting Stars for the last game 1-1 draw against Plateau United. On Wednesday, of course, it's scheduled games. We see Rangers on the continent over the weekend. One goal to nothing, yes. And of course, at home in Uyo, they'll be traveling. I think they won't be playing over the weekend again, but they'll be playing on Wednesday. They are rescheduled encounter. To the second referee corner, and that should be Rivers against Atlant. It gives me the Jones tackle of that Spain Netherlands final in the World Cup. I mean, that foot into the chest.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember Wadbe didn't give a red card on that day.
Yep.
Maybe try
because
to
it was a
respect
World Cup final. He didn't want to destabilize
yes.
the game.
But looking at that one, Femaiti, was that a red card or the referee decided to play safe?
You know, if you want to jokingly say it, we say red card and a jail term. I mean,
kung fu kick. Not only small.
My leg cannot even go that
high.
I
mean, for us to go that high.
Because it's to the chest.
Yes.
So for your squad
to leave the ground,
to make contact with a player's chest. The player was not squatting, no. The player was still standing, and your squad made contact with the player's chest. As I said, red card and a jail term. But then it should have been a red card. That under the red card rule, that is dangerous play.
Yeah.
That is touch up.
Yeah.
That is it means about 2 to 3, criteria for
and that should have been a red card. And of course,
you're endangering the life of the other player. It's touch up. It's high boot.
High boot.
I mean, it means about 3. Criteria for red card. That should have been a send-off.
A yellow card was awarded. The Rivers United should have been a man down that moment
for the second
consecutive game, but the referee thought otherwise.
That was
the boot so high there, and of course it ended 3-1 at the end of the day for Rivers United against Atlant. Let's quickly before we wrap up, Atlant. Is there a panic button now for Emmanuel Munika and his boys?
Yeah, absolutely. 2 games played, 2 games lost.
6 points lost, 6 goals conceded.
I mean,
and 2 goals
scored. I mean, definitely the panic button. There is so much, especially this is like deja vu, and this is like PTSD for Atlant fans. This was how it started.
Yeah,
little by little last season, and before you know it, at the end of the season, they dropped. So. If you suffered something like that last season, you want to be wary, you want to be careful.
Definitely.
Early this season, and it's not looking good at all. They played one at home, they played one away, and both has happened the same way. And so definitely panic button. They've got to get themselves together. Their next game is going to be at home, so that one they've got to get a possible, not just possibility, but they've got to win. There's something that a win does to a team, especially a team low in confidence, because we also talk about that team. They are low in confidence. They are coming off relegation, and then they are coming off 2 defeats in the opening games of the season. So the confidence is at its barest minimum right now. I think most of the things that Amunike will have to be doing is trying to charge up the boys. But then that first win is very important to stir them up, and it has to be this weekend. So all they have to focus on, yes, the pressure is there.
Definitely.
The worry will be there, but nobody will fire Amunike after match day 2. After
for him to start picking up points.
Exactly. So all they've got to focus on is our next game is at home. We've got to win.
Next game at home, they got to win. The table, this is how it looks after match day 2. They must have maximum 6 points. Femaiti has still must have to win the league. If he doesn't win the league, Ogunwayede will still come for you. Caterpillar has second, 4 points. Rivers 4 points. Nigeria Tornadoes 4 points. Plateau United, which I think to win the league, are also on 4 points. That's the top 5 there. Of course, Eyimba, Sunshine, Katsina United occupy 6, 7, 8, and of course they are all on 3 points. While Sunshine, Eyimba, Sunshine, Katsina, Shooting Stars, Akwa United, Delta United, all on 2 points, 9, 10, 11. And for a Plateau have 1 point. Academy, Enugu Rangers, Baby Stars, Better Insurance, Abia Royals, Bayelsa United, all from 12 to 17 are on 1 point. Of course, yet to pick a point this season.
Just 2 teams.
3 teams actually.
Okay, sorry.
Power United, who should have played this weekend, but couldn't because of our corner duty for Yimba. Ikoto City also will have played. They will be playing on Wednesday against Rangers International, and of course, Atlant. 2 games, no points. Last place on the log. This was how they started last season, and maybe this season.
And guess what? It's too early to call, but then 2 teams out of the 14 in that relegation position are actually team for relegation. I thought Bayelsa United was going to drop. I thought Korodu City was going to drop. let's see what happens. But I have to say that Enyimba will have the chance to go level on points.
Yeah, when they host Kwara United, so I think that looks likely to be a victory for them.
Exactly, at home to Baby Stars. So I think we may have already title contenders in our hand here. Two teams that have played one away game and one home game, and they have won both. But then I'm happy with what Remo Stars is doing. They had to squeeze that win.
Yeah, early enough, 7 minutes, and they just saw it out like that.
And you know what they say? A good attack wins you games.
A good defense wins you
titles. 2 games played, 2 clean sheets kept, which is very key. 2 clean sheets kept. I think if there is any success from these 2 games, it's the fact that 2 clean sheets kept. They can continue that way. They'll get the title very soon. Keep breaking up the clean sheets.
And we are looking forward to see that. It's been a long time. Last Lily came to Southwest was in 1995. That was Shooting Stars. And since then, we are yet to see any of such again in Southwest.
I think it's long overdue.
If anybody is, if any team you can trust to bring the league to Southwest, definitely that will be Remo Stars. I was speaking with a lot of Shooting Stars fans yesterday, and all they said was they are believing. Some are believing Shooting Stars will win the league, but some are being factual that they need the team on the continent, and that will be. Well, today's episode of ISTV Intercontinental Sport TV podcast, previewing games over the weekend. This is where we come to a close for today's episode. On Thursday, we'll be back for the review of the weekend, and of course, also look at the games that will be going on Wednesday. Rangers away at the Nickel Stadium against Ikorodu City, and of course, Enyimba against Kwara United, both on the continent. Enyimba got a vital away draw against Etan Filante of Burkina Faso, while Rangers got a scrappy win against Esperance against Angola.
I've not been impressed at all with all the games that Rangers have played this season. There are games, they are opening their preliminary round game in the CAF Confederations Cup. They are opening 2 league games, and then now
the Champions League.
It's not been a convincing performance. It's not been a champions performance. We've seen some of the defending champions in the leagues, abroad, start the season like champions.
Yeah, of course.
Rangers have not started the season like champions.
Maybe the normal Nigerian team.
If it was not an Angola team, if it was not Esperança of Angola, if it was a North African team, I would have said there's only one team left on the continent, but there's still a possibility of getting a draw away in Angola. But then that performance, something has to happen.
Something has to happen. We'll be back on the show on Thursday again for another round of the ISTV Intercontinental Sport TV NPFL podcast show for this season. We'll be really good. And don't forget, Shooting Stars not winning. For the first time, they will not win at home since winning to Enyimba last season. And that's a span of 10.
First game they considered in 10.
Of course, in 10 games, definitely our records are meant to be broken. And of course, from there, that is a BY. I'm the sport of Femati. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. And of course, keep watching the NPFL. It is the best league in the world. Chill out.